Welcome back, basketball fans, to what might just be the single most explosive, landscape-altering, and mind-bending episode we have ever put together on this channel. If you thought the NBA offseason was already bordering on the absolute extreme, if you thought that the rumors and the murmurs echoing to the halls of front offices across the league had reached their absolute peak, I am here to tell you right now that you need to buckle up, because we are completely rewriting the script today. The sheer magnitude of the information we are unpacking is going to send absolute shockwaves through the entire basketball community, from the casual fans all the way up to the executive suites in every single NBA city. We are standing on the precipice of a foundational shift in the hierarchy of the National Basketball Association, and the tectonic plates are moving directly under Los Angeles and South Beach. We have a trifecta of blockbuster storylines that are intertwining in ways that feel like they were written by a Hollywood screenwriter. But I assure you, the stakes are as real as it gets. Today, we are diving deep into a situation that is currently unfolding in real time, a strategic masterclass, or perhaps a desperate gamble being orchestrated by the Los Angeles Lakers. They are setting what can only be described as a brilliant, high-stakes trap for one of the most highly coveted young big men in the game today, Jalen Duren. But that is just the tip of the iceberg, because while the Lakers are executing this tactical maneuver in a restricted free agency market, there's an underlying current, a massive, unbelievable rumor gaining unprecedented traction behind the scenes. The Los Angeles Lakers are actively vying for the services of the greatest shooter to ever touch a basketball, Steph Curry. And as if the Western Conference arms race was enough to make your head spin, we are shifting our focus down to the Eastern Conference, straight to the undisputed kings of opportunistic star hunting, the Miami Heat, who are right on the verge of bringing in none other than Bradley Beal to form a terrifying new core. Let us set the stage properly, because to understand the gravity of these moves, you have to understand the sheer, unadulterated desperation and pressure cooking inside the Crypto.com arena. The Los Angeles Lakers are not just a basketball team. They are a global institution, a brand that is built on the fundamental premise of hanging championship banners and accepting absolutely nothing less than ultimate victory. But right now, they are staring down the barrel of their own mortality. They are operating in the twilight of an era. The window to capitalize on the final, miraculous years of their current superstar core is not just closing, it is slamming shut. Every single move, every single dollar spent, and every single asset leveraged carries the weight of a franchise's entire legacy. The front office knows that they cannot simply run it back. They cannot stand pat while the rest of the Western Conference loads up with younger, faster, and more versatile talent. They need an injection of youth. They need an injection of sheer dominance in the paint. And they need it without completely gutting their remaining flexibility. This is where the concept of the front office trap comes into play. In the hyper-competitive world of NBA team building, setting a trap in free agency is an art form. It requires patience, deception, and an intricate understanding of the collective bargaining agreement, specifically the treacherous waters of restricted free agency. When a team targets a restricted free agent, they are not just negotiating with a player. They are playing a high-stakes game of financial chicken with the player's current team. You have to construct an offer sheet or maneuver a sign-and-trade scenario that is so utterly toxic, so financially burdensome, or so structurally complex that the incumbent team is effectively paralyzed. You force them into a corner where matching the offer completely destroys their own salary cap flexibility, or you lure the player with a pitch so compelling that he demands a front office facilitator's exit. And that brings us directly to the focal point of this entire Los Angeles operation, Jalen Duren. For those who have not been paying close attention to the Detroit Pistons, let me make this abundantly clear. Jalen Duren is an absolute monster on the basketball court. He is a walking double-double, a physical specimen who possesses a rare combination of explosive athleticism, terrifying strength, and incredibly high basketball IQ for a player of his age. We are talking about a young man who has just come off an incredibly dominant campaign, putting up nearly 20 points and grabbing double-digit rebounds night in and night out, shooting an incredibly efficient percentage on the floor, and firmly establishing himself as one of the premier young big men in the entire association. He is the exact archetype of the modern rim-running, paint-protecting, lob-catching center that championship contenders are absolutely desperate to acquire. But here is where the plot thickens and the trap is set. Despite his brilliance, The Detroit Pistons and Jalen Duren have hit a massive, potentially irreparable roadblock in their contract extension negotiations. Reports are surfacing from the most credible insiders in the league that Duren and his camp are severely underwhelmed by Detroit's initial offers. The relationship is frayed, the trust is wavering, and the door has been kicked wide open for a predatory franchise to swoop in. Enter the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers know that Detroit is desperately trying to hold on to their young core, but they also know that Duren wants to be compensated like the foundational pillar he believes he is. The Lakers are swooping in not just with the allure of the purple and gold, not just with the promise of playing under the brightest lights in the sporting world, but with a calculated plan to force Detroit's hand. They have lined up meetings. They are crunching the numbers on complex sign-and-trade frameworks, and they are leveraging every single ounce of their institutional prestige to make Jalen Duren realize that his future, his path to ultimate superstardom, lies in Southern California. The trap is beautifully constructed. Make Duren fall in love with L.A., construct a financial pathway that Detroit will choke on, and watch the dominoes fall. But my friends, the Los Angeles Lakers are a franchise of unparalleled ambition, and apparently, securing a dominant young center is not enough to quench their thirst for absolute supremacy, because simultaneously, operating in the shadows of this Jalen Duren maneuver is a rumor so massive, so historically significant, that it almost defies logical comprehension. We have to talk about Stephen Curry. Yes, you heard me correctly. Stephen Curry, the face of the Golden State Warriors, the man who single-handedly revolutionized the geometry of the basketball court, the player whose entire identity is inextricably linked to the Bay Area. The murmurs are growing louder. The whispers in the corridors of power are starting to echo, suggesting that a team, specifically heavily linked to the gravitational pull of the Lakers and their superstar connections, is vying for the impossible. Now, on the surface, this sounds like pure, unadulterated fantasy. Steph Curry in a Lakers jersey? It feels like a glitch in the Matrix. But when you start to peel back the layers, when you look at the mechanics of leverage, representation, and the shifting dynamics of power in the modern NBA, you start to see the faint outlines of a pathway. You start to look at the influence of agencies, specifically clutch sports, which represents nearly every major power player in this scenario. You look at the recent opt-outs, the subtle shifts in player mobility, and you realize that in this league, the word impossible is just a placeholder until the right amount of leverage is applied. Is it a leverage play? Is it a genuine, clandestine pursuit to unite the two greatest defining players of this generation on one roster before they ride off into the sunset? The mere fact that this is being discussed at the highest levels of NBA media signifies that the ground beneath our feet is shifting. The Lakers are not just hunting for pieces. They are hunting for the ultimate crown jewel, and they are perfectly willing to weaponize every relationship, every agency tie, and every ounce of media pressure to explore the viability of a move that would literally break the internet and redefine the history of the sport. And while the Western Conference threatens to consume itself in this arms race of historic proportions, we must pivot our attention to the Eastern Conference, because Pat Riley and the Miami Heat are doing exactly what Pat Riley and the Miami Heat always do. They are lurking in the tall grass, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and they have identified their target, Bradley Beal, the prolific scorer. The veteran guard who has weathered the storms of injury and organizational chaos is officially on the open market, and the Heat are circling with terrifying intent. The Miami Heat are an organization built on a singular, unwavering philosophy: acquire elite talent, drop them into the most demanding, rigorously structured culture in professional sports, and mold them into a championship contending machine. They have already made seismic waves by restructuring their roster to bring in Giannis Antetokounmpo, pairing him with the defensive brilliance of Bam Adebayo. But they know that to truly conquer the East, to truly guarantee that they can outscore the high-octane offenses they will face in the postseason, they need elite perimeter shot creation. They need a player who can operate in a half-court, create his own shot when the shot clock is winding down, and punish defenses that collapse on Giannis and Bam. Bradley Beal is the exact missing piece to that terrifying puzzle. Yes, there are massive questions about his durability. Yes, there are concerns about his recent injury history, specifically the hip surgery that derailed his previous campaign. But the Miami Heat do not operate on fear. They operate on calculated risk. They look at Beal's career numbers, his elite three-point shooting, his undeniable pedigree as a three-level scorer, and they see an opportunity to buy low on a player with undeniably high-end championship pedigree. The connection is there, the mutual admiration is documented, and the fit on the court is absolutely seamless. We are looking at a scenario where Miami transforms into an unstoppable juggernaut, completely shifting the balance of power in the East. This is the intro to the madness, the prelude to the storm. Now, let us roll up our sleeves and dive deeply, intricately, and analytically into exactly how each of these three monumental scenarios could actually happen, what the mechanics are, and what it means for the future of the league. Let us begin this deep dive by forensically examining the Jalen Duren situation, because this is where the Los Angeles Lakers are playing their most immediate, high-stakes game of chess. To understand why Duren is the linchpin, you have to look at the Lakers' roster construction and their immediate needs on the floor. For years, the Lakers have relied heavily on Anthony Davis to anchor their defense, protect the rim, and carry an overwhelming physical burden in the paint. While Davis is undeniably a generation defensive talent, asking him to consistently bang with the most massive, bruising centers in the league for an 82-game season plus a deep playoff run is a recipe for physical breakdown. The Lakers have been desperately searching for a legitimate, physically imposing center who can absorb that punishment, allowing Davis to slide naturally to preferred power forward position, where he can roam, disrupt passing lanes, and operate as the most terrifying weak-side shot blocker in the world. Jalen Duren is the absolute perfect manifestation of that need. At 22 years old, Duren is already a physical anomaly. His ability to seal off defenders in the paint, his relentless motor on the offensive glass, and his capacity to finish with authority through contact makes him an absolute nightmare for opposing front courts. But acquiring him is incredibly complicated. Because Duren is a restricted free agent, the Detroit Pistons hold the ultimate trump card. They have the right of first refusal and can match any offer sheet signed by Duren. This is why the Lakers' strategy is so fascinating. They cannot simply offer Duren a massive contract and walk away, because Detroit would likely match it out of sheer asset preservation, even if the relationship is strained. The Lakers have to engineer a sign-and trade. A sign-and trade in restricted free agency is a complex dance requiring consent of three distinct parties: the player, the acquiring team, and the incumbent team. The Lakers have to convince Duren that their vision for his future is unparalleled. They have to sell him on the pick-and-roll synergy he would instantly develop playing alongside elite playmakers, the endless lobs, the global exposure, and a very real chance to compete for a championship immediately. Once Duren is locked in and demanding Los Angeles, the Lakers then have to approach the Detroit Pistons with a package that is just enticing enough to prevent Detroit from simply matching out of spite, but not so rich that it completely guts the Lakers' remaining depth. We are talking about highly nuanced salary matching, involving draft compensation, potentially moving off productive rotational pieces, and navigating the incredibly punitive luxury tax aprons of the new collective bargaining agreement. If the Lakers trigger the hard cap by receiving a player via sign-and trade, it severely restricts their ability to fill out the rest of the roster with anything other than veteran minimum contracts. It is a financial tightrope walk over a volcano. The Sacramento Kings are also heavily rumored to be in the mix, adding a layer of intense bidding war pressure. If the Lakers can successfully execute this trap, if they can pry Duren out of the Motor City, they instantly solve their most glaring structural weakness, extend Anthony Davis's prime by reducing his physical toll, and acquire a young foundational piece who can seamlessly transition into the next era of Lakers basketball. It is a masterstroke if they can pull it off. But while the Jalen Duren acquisition is grounded in the gritty reality of salary caps and rotational needs, the secondary narrative currently engulfing the Lakers is something pulled straight from the realms of basketball mythology. Let us turn our analytical focus to the Steph Curry rumors, because this is where the conversation transcends mere basketball strategy and enters the realm of legacy, leverage, and the staggering influence of player empowerment. The idea of Stephen Curry leaving the Golden State Warriors to join the Los Angeles Lakers is, on its face, utterly absurd. Curry built the Warriors dynasty. He is the franchise. His loyalty to the Bay Area is legendary. But in the modern NBA, absolute loyalty is often an illusion, subject to the shifting sands of competitive viability and backroom negotiations. The genesis of this rumor, the reason it is even a fraction of credibility, lies in the intricate web of relationships surrounding the major players. When you look at a landscape, you see the massive footprint of Clutch Sports. You have the ultimate power broker, Rich Paul, representing Anthony Davis, representing LeBron James, and heavily influencing the power dynamics across the league. You have Draymond Green, another Clutch client, opting out of his contract, creating a ripple effect of uncertainty in Golden State. Former players and current analysts, people deeply plugged into the inner workings of the league like Kendrick Perkins, are publicly pointing out these connections. They are suggesting that these rumors, these whispers of a super team formation in Los Angeles featuring Curry, might be a highly sophisticated leverage play. Think about it from a strategic perspective. If you are an agent trying to maximize the contractual leverage for your client across the board, what better way to panic a front office than to credibly float the idea that the greatest shooter ever is considering jumping ship to a bitter rival? It forces the Golden State front office to overpay to keep their core intact. It forces other teams to freeze their assets in anticipation of a massive move, and it keeps your clients at the absolute center of the media universe. However, we cannot entirely dismiss the competitive reality. LeBron James has stated on the record, unequivocally, that Steph and Curry is the one player in the world he would most love to play with. We saw the terrifying potential of their synergy during the Olympics, the unstoppable two-man game that no defense on earth could solve. If the Golden State Warriors front office signals a pivot toward rebuild, if they balk at the financial demands of keeping the aging core together, is it completely impossible to fathom Curry deciding he wants to spend his final elite years competing for rings rather than mentoring rookies? The mechanics of such a trade would be mind-boggling. The Lakers would have to empty every single draft pick they legally can, part ways with every valuable young asset on the roster, and completely gut their depth to match Curry's astronomical salary. It would be a mortgage of the franchise's entire future for a 2-year window of unparalleled offensive firepower. It is a long shot, a microscopic probability. But the fact that the trap is even being discussed, the fact that the possibility is lingering in the air, proves that the Lakers are operating with a level of aggression and ambition that is truly terrifying. They are swinging for the fences, aiming not just for contention, but for historical immortality. Now, let us leave the chaos of the Western Conference and travel down to the heat and humidity of South Florida. The Miami Heat are quietly, methodically positioning themselves to execute a massive coup of their own, and the target is a player who has seemingly been linked to them for half a decade, Bradley Beal. To understand the significance of Bradley Beal in Miami, you have to look at the complete architectural overhaul the Heat have undergone. They have acquired Giannis Antetokounmpo. That single move instantly transformed them into a terrifying defensive juggernaut and a physical force of nature in transition. With Giannis and Bam Adebayo sharing the floor, the Heat have arguably the most imposing, defensively versatile, and physically dominant frontcourt in the history of the game. They can switch everything. They can protect the rim with ferocity, and they can punish teams inside. But basketball is a game of balance, and the glaring weakness of a Giannis and Bam pairing is spacing. Neither player is a natural, high-volume perimeter threat. If you surround them with mediocre shooters, playoff defenses will simply pack the paint, build a wall, and force the Heat to beat them from the outside. This is where the desperate, glaring need for Bradley Beal arises. Bradley Beal is one of the most gifted, natural scorers of his generation. He is a career near 38% shooter from beyond the arc. But more importantly, he possesses the elite ball handling and shot creation ability to break down defenses in isolation. When the game slows down in the fourth quarter of a grueling playoff series, when transition opportunities dry up, and you need someone to simply go get you a bucket against a set defense, Giannis and Bam need a perimeter release valve. Beal is that valve. The timing of this potential marriage is impeccable. Beal has declined his player option, electing to become an unrestricted free agent, signaling a clear desire to choose his own destination, to prioritize winning a championship over simply collecting the maximum possible dollar amount on a non-contending team. Miami has the mid-level exceptions, the sign-and-trade flexibility, and the undeniable allure of the Heat culture to offer. Yes, the skeptics are incredibly vocal. They point to Beal's recent injury history, the hip surgery that ended his last season prematurely, and the sheer volume of games he has missed over the past several years. They question if his body can hold up to the grueling, militant demands of a Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra training camp. But the Heat have built their entire brand on rehabilitating careers, on maximizing physical conditioning, and on extracting the absolute best out of veteran talent. They have Bam Adebayo in the locker room, a player who has publicly and openly expressed his massive respect and admiration for Beal. The synergy is there. If the Miami Heat can secure Bradley Beal, even if they have to carefully manage his minutes and workload throughout the regular season, they instantly elevate their offensive ceiling to match their historic defensive floor. A closing lineup featuring Beal spacing the floor, operating the pick and roll, while Giannis cuts and Bam sets punishing screens, is a terrifying proposition for the rest of the Eastern Conference. It is a calculated risk, a gamble on health, but it is exactly the kind of high-stakes maneuver that Pat Riley has built his Hall of Fame legacy upon as we pull back and look at the sheer scope of everything we have discussed today. It is difficult not to feel a sense of absolute awe at the complexity and the ruthlessness of the modern NBA offseason. We are not just watching teams make minor adjustments around the margins. We are watching empires attempt to fundamentally rewrite their destinies. The Los Angeles Lakers are playing a multi-tiered game of high-stakes poker, setting a brilliant, calculated trap to secure a foundational young superstar in Jalen Duren, while simultaneously exploring the absolute limits of reality by probing the possibility of Steph Curry acquisition. If they land Duren, they solidify their present and build a bridge to their future. If, by some miracle of salary cap gymnastics and unprecedented player leverage, they were to land Steph Curry, they would instantly create the most captivating, heavily scrutinized, and offensively terrifying super team the sport has ever witnessed. It would be a cultural phenomenon that transcends basketball. And on the opposite coast, the Miami Heat are perfectly content to let the West devour itself in rumors, while they quietly, surgically attempt to add the final, lethal piece to their championship puzzle in Bradley Beal. The addition of Beal to a core already featuring Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bam Adebayo would solidify Miami as the undisputed team to beat in the Eastern Conference, a perfect amalgamation of overwhelming physical force and elite perimeter finesse. If even one of these massive storylines reaches the finish line, the landscape of the league will be altered for the next half-decade. The balance of power is teetering on a knife's edge, and the decisions made in the coming hours and days will echo in the history books for generations. The era of the stagnant franchise is dead. We are living in the era of perpetual motion, of super teams evolving, dissolving, and reforming in the blink of an eye. This is the absolute pinnacle of basketball drama, the highest level of front office maneuvering, and we are going to be right here, breaking down every single angle, every single salary cap implication, and every single whisper that escapes these organizations. I want to hear from every single one of you down in the comments section below. I want you to sound off. Do you believe the Lakers can successfully execute this trap and steal Jalen Duren away from Detroit? Do you think the Steph Curry to Los Angeles rumors are just a massive leverage play by the agencies, or is there a genuine fire beneath that smoke? And finally, if Pat Riley brings Bradley Beal to South Beach to pair with Giannis and Bam, is there a single team in the Eastern Conference that can stop them? Let the debate rage in the comments. I read every single one of them. If you appreciated this deep dive, if you love this level of uncompromising, detailed basketball analysis, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a breaking update. The NBA never sleeps, and neither do we. Until next time, keep your eyes on the wire, because the next massive WOJ or Shams bomb is just around the corner. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.